Hi, this is Jeremy Vinup with J&J Powersports. Welcome back to video number 3 of our 4-part video series on how to make your 49cc scooter wicked fast. Now, before we get into today's video, I want to recap on everything we've covered. In video number 1, we talked about how important it was to increase the airflow, and we showed you how to do that with the aftermarket filter. Video number 2, we discussed the importance of increasing fuel into our engine and also airflow with the Superflow carburetor. Now, in video number 3, we're going to talk about how to take that increased air-fuel mixture and turn that into horsepower and speed. Now, before I do that though, I want you to understand how the GY6 electrical system works. Okay, it consists of 6 different parts. Now, we're not going to cover all 6 in this video. I'm just going to cover the parts that are essential for horsepower and speed. Okay, so part number 1 is your stator. Number 2 is your magneto. Number 3 is your CDI. Number 4 is a regulator. Number 5 is the coil. And finally, number 6 is going to be the spark plug. Okay, so how do all these parts work together? Now, your stator is bolted onto the engine housing. Over top of your stator is going to be your magneto. Now, this all can be found underneath the engine fan. So, as the engine runs, the magneto will spin around this stator. As it's spinning around the stator, it creates an electrical charge. This electrical charge travels to the CDI. Inside the CDI, you have transistors, okay? Now, these transistors work like batteries. Once they're charged, and at a very specific time, all right, they release the electrical current into the coil. Now, the coil's job is to magnify that electrical current, sending it through the spark plug, creating a spark to ignite the air-fuel mixture. Okay, let me back up. Let's talk about why the coil has to amplify the electrical current. Okay, this is crucial on how the engine works. And to understand this, you have to understand how a 4-stroke engine is put together and how it works. Okay, so in video number 1, I talked about what we call the intake stroke, where we got our piston on top dead center. All right, our intake valve begins to open as our piston travels down. That creates a suction, pulling in our air-fuel mixture. So now we have our air-fuel mixture completely filling up our cylinder. As this piston begins to come back up, okay, the intake valve will close. Now it will compress the air-fuel mixture up against the head. This is why it has to do that. For example, take some gunpowder. If you take gunpowder and you just spread it out on the table and you light it, all you're going to get is a fire. Okay? Now, if you take that very same gunpowder and pack it tightly into something or into a firecracker, when you light it, you're going to get an explosion. That explosion inside that engine, so it's tightly compressed, that explosion, that's where all the horsepower and the speed are created. So, the problem is, when it is compressed really tight, it's hard to ignite. So, the larger the spark and the longer the spark we can get on our spark plug, that's going to ignite or combust all of that airflow or all that fuel and air mixture completely, giving us the most efficient and the most horsepower possible. Okay, so now that we understand how the electrical system works and how we get speed and how we get horsepower. Okay, the first thing to maximize this, how do you maximize the speed and how do you maximize the horsepower? Okay, now I'm assuming you're running the Superflow carb and you also have the aftermarket filter, so you have this big increase of air-fuel mixture inside of your engine. Okay, to ignite that efficiently, here's what you're going to need to upgrade to. First thing I'm going to do is have you upgrade, or just, suggest you upgrade to our Aftermarket Cdi. Now, one thing I want to say about the CDI is the racing CDI. If you just upgrade to this, don't expect a lot of performance gains, okay? We've tested it. You may get a little bit of a gain, but you're not going to get increased speed and horsepower or anything like that. You may get a tiny little bit. But why is it important to run this with these aftermarket parts, okay? Or you can run it stock, just don't expect don't expect a lot of horsepower gains, okay? What this has a lot better parts inside of it, okay? Better transistors than your stock box. Okay, number 2, all right, this has a way of increasing how it gets the electrical charge to the coil. So, When we run more air-fuel mixture in engines, we're going to get more RPM. The more RPM we have, the faster we have to get that electrical charge up there to make the spark in the spark plug. This is going to get it there, okay? This is going to help it get it there. All right, if you run it on stock, you know, this is going to help. It's going to start a little bit better, may run a little bit smoother and things like that, okay? This thing here just keeps up better when you're at high RPM and you're at full throttle, okay? Now, the next thing I'm going to suggest you upgrade to is going to be our aftermarket coil. Now, this coil does the exact same thing as the stock coil, except, okay, it amplifies at a much higher rate than the stock coil. This coil here will, you know, it will go up to 30,000 plus volts. Okay, so this is super essential to have this when you have this increased air-fuel mixture, okay? If you don't, you may not ignite the entire air-fuel mixture that you have, so what you're doing is you're robbing yourself of horsepower and you're robbing yourself of speed, okay? So that's what I recommend, the Aftermarket CDI or the Racing CDI, and also our Aftermarket high-performance ignition coil. Now that you understand that, if you run this entire package with the Superflow carb, okay, the aftermarket filter, the Racing CDI, and the Racing coil, you're going to maximize the horsepower you're going to get from your 49cc scooter, okay? But I want to take this a step further, okay? I want to really increase the speed of your scooter. So that's what we're going to cover in video number 4, is how to go to the next level, how to get way increased speed on our 49cc scooters. I'm also going to give you one heck of an internet special on all this package of parts if you're interested in upgrading your scooter and getting the maximum speed and horsepower possible. So this is Jeremy Vinup for J&J Power Sports. Please leave me some comments or some questions below. I hope you got some value out of this, and I look forward to seeing you in our final video, video number 4. Have a great day, and we'll see you in video number 4.